Testimony in the murder trial for the men charged with killing Ahmaud Arbery is underway. Once again, Kevin Gough, the attorney representing William Roddie Bryan, took center stage. He asked the judge to remove Reverend Jesse Jackson from the courtroom and asked for a mistrial again. BNC's Dre Clark is in Brunswick following today's developments.
In just a few days, hundreds of black ministers from all across the country will be right here in Brunswick, Georgia. But perhaps the most prominent one of them all is already here, Reverend Jesse Jackson. One of the defense attorneys said with all due respect, he does not want to see Reverend Jackson in the courtroom. And this is not the first time that same attorney has targeted a black minister.
We would ask that the court.
Defense attorney Kevin Gough started the morning off asking if bailiffs can identify and keep track of everyone from the public coming into the courtroom.
My understanding in a case like this, that would be best practice. And we're asking the court to do that.
If somebody is in the gallery here as a member of the public, that's their right to be here, and I'm not going to track individual members of the public who come in and out of this courtroom.
Judge Timothy Walmsley has denied almost every motion Gough has presented. Last week, Gough was called racist after he stood up in court and said this.
We don't want any more black pastors coming in here.
Gough was bothered after learning Reverend Al Sharpton was in the courtroom sitting with Ahmaud Arbery's family. He asked for a total ban on black pastors. Gough argued their presence intimidates jurors. When Gough spotted civil rights icon Reverend Jesse Jackson sitting with Arbery's mother, he pushed to have Reverend Jackson removed immediately.
There is no reason for these prominent icons in the civil rights movement to be here.
I was not even aware that Reverend Jackson was in the courtroom until you started your motion. At this point, I'm not exactly sure what you're doing. I have already ruled on this court's position with regard to the gallery.
Another motion denied, but Gough had one more complaint about Reverend Jackson.
I would note that the Reverend Jesse Jackson's mask is down below his nose.
All of the defense attorneys asked the judge to declare a mistrial. They claimed jurors heard Arbery's mother crying after a picture of her son was shown in court. And they say jurors could see Reverend Jackson consoling her.
We're in a very difficult position now with this jury to have seen and heard and felt that.
But again, motion for mistrial denied. Multiple investigators and Ahmaud Arbery's neighbor testified in court on day 7 of testimony. Gregory and Travis McMichael, along with William Bryan, are on trial for multiple charges, including murder. Arbery's family say he was out jogging when he was killed, February 23, 2020. Defense attorneys say Travis McMichael shot and killed Arbery in self-defense, as all three men claim they were trying to make a citizen's arrest. Reverend Jackson will be here in town all week long, but it's unclear if he plans to attend court every day. Meanwhile, during discussion of one of those motions, Judge Walmsley said to Kevin Gough that he actually thought some of what he said last week in reference to Reverend Al Sharpton, he found his comments to be reprehensible. Meanwhile, the most emotional moment of the day came when the weapon that was used to kill Ahmaud Arbery was held up in court, a 12-gauge Remington shotgun. Ahmaud Arbery's parents were visibly upset. His father, Marcus Arbery Sr., got up and left the courtroom. In Brunswick, Georgia, I'm Dre Clark for Making the Case.
My attorneys Paul Henderson and Sue Ann Robinson are still with me. All right, guys, the judge denied all of Gough's requests today, but let's listen to his explaining his reasons for excluding black pastors like Reverend Jesse Jackson from the courtroom.
The Arbery family is giving up seats in the public gallery so that these gentlemen may be present. With all due respect, Your Honor, the seats in the public gallery of a courtroom are not like courtside seats at a Lakers game. There are no First Amendment rights in the public gallery of a courtroom. There is no standing of any particular individual to be present in the public gallery of a courtroom. And there is no reason for these prominent icons in the civil rights movement to be here.
Mr. Gough, at this point, I'm not exactly sure what you're doing. I have already ruled on this court's position with regard to the gallery. And with all candor, I was not even aware that Reverend Jackson was in the courtroom until you started your motion. I have indicated the court's position. The court's position hasn't changed. At this point, it's almost as if you're just trying to continue this for purposes other than just bringing it to the court's attention.
Sue Ann, is Gough bringing more attention to the people in the gallery than the public figures themselves? I mean, who are probably wearing face masks, making it that much harder to be recognized.
I mean, Walmsley is not perfect, but he is not here for the dog whistles disguised as legal motions. He's like, Gough, I'm not here for this. Okay, do not come for these people unless they send for you. Okay, Reverend Jackson is minding his business. You do what you're supposed to do. Focus on your client. I mean, that's basically what he said in a calm, cool, and appropriate manner under the settings. It's important to note he didn't yell, he didn't scream, he didn't turn red in the face. He just said, listen, I see you. You need to chill out. And that's the way he's been running the entire case. And I'm not saying he's perfect, but he could come to the cookout. If he pulls up, I'm gonna let him get a chicken or something like that.
I see the subtle shade that you're throwing for the judge in Kenosha. Paul, your thoughts?
I mean, really, again, we're talking about Gough, and I'm so irritated with him, with his racist, with his distracting to the jury, with his non-relevant, non-legal distractions to the court and to the jury. I mean, him saying and articulating that he doesn't want to see the pastors. You know what we don't want to see? His defendants. We didn't want to see them do that modern day lynching that we all had to watch, and that's what we are here in the courtroom for. This is just another distraction for him to talk about anything other than what his defendants did and what's on that videotape that we all saw, which was a murder. He's talking about there are best practices which indicate that people like this shouldn't be in the courtroom. Best practices for who, sir? It's just ludicrous that we're having this conversation about his comments that are so clearly designed to distract all of us from holding those 3 defendants accountable for the murder that we all saw on videotape. And so let's just proceed with that. I'm grateful for the judge and how he made this ruling and shutting this all down. And let's just try and see where this jury can go in terms of holding accountability for the rest of us. But that's exactly why he's making these arguments, in my opinion, is to try and make a record, distract the court or distract the jury from focusing on the evidence.
And it's funny that Gough himself didn't even know that Reverend Al Sharpton was in the courtroom until the day after, which speaks to the point again that the jury probably doesn't know who these people are either. All right, so let's take a look at Gough's request for a mistrial. Here's a clip of him making the request yet again.
We contend that the atmosphere of the trial, both inside and outside the courtroom, at this point has deprived Mr. Bryan of his right to a fair trial. In extraordinary cases like this, additional steps have to be taken. We have not secured the front of this courthouse. The Transformative Justice Coalition still flies their banner virtually every day outside in what should be protected grounds. Your Honor, we have had numerous instances several instances during jury selection of nonverbal communications between the victim's family and jurors, or from juror to the victim's family.
Here's my, I'm going to play devil's advocate really quick because we only have 2 minutes left, but I want to get your thoughts. Let's just say that Reverend Al Sharpton does show up in court. He's pretty recognizable. The jurors look at him, they see him. And given how they've expressed, I don't know how many on the jury actually did during jury selection, but they've expressed concern about serving on this jury, about their safety, about their family's safety. If this verdict doesn't come out the way the public wants it to, then they're fearful. So when they see figures like Reverend Al Sharpton, they understand how big this case actually is. So can we make this argument that maybe Gough is somewhat right in terms of the pressure that these jurors already feel, and then on top of that, seeing figures like Reverend Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson in the gallery? Sue Ann?
The National Guard is out there. The National Guard is out here, and Gough is worried about one man. He's worried about reverends. That's what he's worried about. And the National Guard is out here. He should be making a motion saying, Judge, can we call the feds and tell them to send the National Guard home? That is intimidating the jury. But he's worrying about the black pastors. Okay, Gough, do your thing. Do your thing.
Paul, really quick. Last word.
Okay, let's just give it a legal analysis that all of the factors that he's talking about are conditional. None of them have been proven, and he's not even making the arguments indicating that the factors that he's alluding to are intentionally or actually interfering with the judges or the jury's role in this case. So absolutely a waste of time and meaningless. They won't even be good standards for appeal. He should let it go and move on to focusing on the evidence.
Criminal defense attorney Sue Ann Robinson and veteran prosecutor and BNC's legal contributor Paul Henderson. Thank you guys for joining me tonight.